The Titan outpost was a solitary point of light in the dark vastness of space. Situated on Saturn's largest moon, it was primarily a research facility, though recently it had been upgraded with defense capabilities, a precaution against potential threats. Captain James Holden, the outpost's commander, was a seasoned officer with an intuitive understanding of the delicate balance between exploration and survival. It was during a routine surveillance sweep that Holden's team detected an anomaly, an unidentified spacecraft moving toward Titan at an alarming speed. The control room buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension as they monitored the approaching vessel. "Status report," Holden called out, his voice calm yet assertive. Lieutenant Sharma, his second-in-command, responded promptly. "The craft is not responding to our hails. Its trajectory suggests a direct approach to our location. No known signatures. It doesn't match anything in our databases." Holden considered their options. First contact protocols were clear, but this situation seemed to diverge from any standard encounter they were prepared for. "Keep trying to establish communication. Send both standard greeting codes and emergency signals. I want to know what they want before we see them on our doorstep." As the hours slipped by, the tension increased. The alien ship made no attempt to communicate, nor did it alter its path. It was then that Holden decided to convene his top officers in the strategy room. "We have to assume they're hostile," Holden started, pacing slowly in front of the holographic displays showing the alien craft's schematics. "Prepare all defensive systems but hold fire until we have a clear sign of aggression. Evacuate non-essential personnel to the shelters." "But sir, if we show too much aggression, might we provoke a peaceful visitor into an enemy?" asked Ensign Cole, a young officer recently posted to the outpost. "That's a risk," Holden admitted, "but one we must take to protect ourselves and this outpost. Our first duty is to ensure the safety of our personnel." The final hour approached as the alien spacecraft entered orbit around Titan. It was larger than any they had seen, bristling with what could only be weapons. The outpost's radar systems tracked the ship's every move, ready to respond at a moment's notice. Suddenly, the main console lit up with a warning. The alien ship had launched something toward the surface, a small, sleek probe, descending rapidly toward the outpost. "All hands, brace for impact!" Holden barked. But instead of the expected collision, the probe hovered above the base, scanning the structure with a pulsing blue light. Holden watched warily, his hand poised above the armament controls. As the probe continued its silent examination, he realized that this was a critical moment. His decision in the next few minutes would either usher in a new era of cosmic diplomacy or plunge his crew into the throes of a battle they might not be prepared for. Whatever the intentions of these unknown visitors, the fate of Titan Outpost now hung in the balance, and it was up to him to steer the course. As the alien probe completed its scan and returned to the mothership orbiting above, tension gripped the crew of the Titan Outpost. Captain James Holden watched the probe's ascent, his mind racing with possibilities and potential strategies. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Lieutenant Sharma announced, her voice cutting through the palpable silence of the control room. Everyone's attention snapped to the main screen as the static cleared, revealing a message in a startlingly clear, albeit mechanical, English. "Human occupants of Titan Outpost, this is the Zaltrax Coalition. You are occupying a sector that has been claimed under the Galactic Resilience Act. You have 24 hours to evacuate your facility. Failure to comply will result in forceful removal." The room erupted in murmurs and stifled exclamations. Holden raised his hand, signaling for silence. "Quiet down. Sharma, reply to them. Tell them this outpost is under the jurisdiction of the United Earth Authority, and we request parley to discuss their claim." As Sharma sent the message, Holden convened a quick meeting with his top officers. "Thoughts?" he asked, glancing around the table. Ensign Cole spoke up. "Sir, could this be a bluff? Their ship did show superior technology, but maybe they're not as powerful as they want us to believe." Holden nodded, considering this. "It's possible, but we prepare for the worst. Continue with defensive preparations. I want every system at peak readiness. Meanwhile, let's dig up anything we can on this Galactic Resilience Act and the Zaltrax Coalition." Hours passed with no response from the Zaltrax ship. The deadline loomed closer, and the outpost buzzed with activity as everyone prepared for a possible conflict. Holden watched the countdown, feeling the weight of every second. Finally, the alien ship broke its silence, but not with words. A series of small, agile vessels detached from the main ship and began descending toward Titan's surface. "They're launching fighters or drones, maybe. Defensive positions now," Holden ordered, rushing to the command deck. The outpost's defense systems sprang to life, targeting the incoming crafts. Titan's surface rumbled with the low booms of anti-aircraft fire. Holden observed the battle from the command center, issuing commands with precision. "Sir, our weapons are having an effect, but there are too many," Sharma reported, her voice tense over the sound of alarms. Holden gritted his teeth, watching the enemy advance. "Focus fire on the larger clusters. Use our missiles sparingly. Make every shot count." The outpost's cannons roared as they obeyed Holden's commands, knocking several of the enemy crafts out of the sky. However, for each that fell, it seemed two more took its place. The alien technology was resilient, their tactics relentless. As the battle waged, Holden received a transmission from Earth Command. "Holden, we're aware of the situation. Reinforcements are en route, but they're hours away. Hold your position." "Understood. We'll hold them off as long as we can," Holden replied, his gaze fixed on the screens showing the swarming alien crafts. This was no longer about diplomacy or territory. It was about survival. The Zaltrax had underestimated the humans' will to fight, and Holden was determined to make their aggressive move a costly mistake. The battle for Titan's outpost intensified as waves of Zaltrax drones swarmed the skies. Amidst the chaos, Captain James Holden orchestrated his crew's defense with unyielding resolve. The outpost's cannons continued to fire in rhythmic bursts, tearing through the night with blinding flashes. Despite the initial success in downing several enemy crafts, the Zaltrax's numbers seemed inexhaustible. Holden knew they couldn't win a war of attrition. "We need a new approach," he muttered, scanning the live feed of the battlefield. "Cole, take a squad and flank them from the west. Use the terrain to your advantage." "Yes, sir," Ensign Cole responded, rallying his team for the maneuver. Holden turned to Lieutenant Sharma. "Get me a thermal scan of the area. I want to know where they're concentrating their forces." As Sharma relayed the thermal imaging to the main screen, patterns began to emerge. The Zaltrax drones were focusing on the outpost's communication array, likely trying to cut off their ability to call for reinforcements. "They're trying to isolate us," Holden realized, his jaw setting firm. Using the cover of Titan's rocky terrain, Cole's team moved stealthily, positioning themselves behind a ridge overlooking the enemy's advance. The squad launched a surprise attack, hurling grenades and firing rockets. The sudden assault caused confusion among the drone swarm, temporarily halting their advance. Back at the outpost, Holden seized the moment to bolster their defenses. "Sharma, redirect all power to the shields and prepare to launch the EMP," he ordered, knowing this might be their only chance to disable the drones en masse. With a nod, Sharma executed the command. The electromagnetic pulse surged through the area, a silent wave that swept over the battlefield. The drones, caught mid-flight, faltered, their systems overwhelmed by the pulse. Many crashed to the ground, inert and smoking. Holden watched the screens, his heart pounding as he saw their plan take effect. "Cole, report," he called into the comms. "We've got them disoriented, sir. Taking down as many as we can while they're offline." Cole's voice crackled through, mixed with the sounds of gunfire. "Good man. Hold your position and keep up the pressure," Holden replied, a hint of pride in his voice despite the dire circumstances. As the EMP's effect began to wane, the remaining drones slowly rebooted, their systems coming back online. The outpost's defenses braced for another wave, but Holden had bought them precious time. The crew worked feverishly to repair and reload their defenses. "Sir, Earth Command reports the reinforcements have entered the sector. They'll be here in less than an hour," Sharma updated, hope flickering in her eyes. Holden nodded, his gaze never leaving the battlefield. "We just need to hold a little longer. Keep everyone sharp and focused. This isn't over yet." As the next wave of drones approached, Holden felt a grim satisfaction. They had survived the night and would soon have the upper hand. The Zaltrax had indeed made a critical error in attacking the outpost, underestimating the cunning and resilience of its human defenders. Now, it was only a matter of time before they turned the tide for good. As the first light of dawn crested the horizon of Titan, the long-awaited reinforcements from Earth finally arrived, slicing through the silence of space with the roar of their engines. Captain James Holden watched from the command center as a fleet of human warships aligned in formation above the outpost. The sight injected a new surge of vigor among his weary crew. "Captain Holden, this is Admiral Garcia aboard the UES Vanguard," crackled the voice over the communications array, now restored and fully operational. "We're here to lend you a hand." "Admiral, we're glad to see you. We've managed to hold them off, but their numbers are overwhelming," Holden reported, his voice steady despite the fatigue that pulled at his limbs. we've brought the new pulse disruptors. Prepare to coordinate a counterattack. Admiral Garcia responded, the sound of determination clear in her tone. Within minutes, the human fleet deployed the pulse disruptors, a series of high-frequency emitters designed to interfere with the Zaltrax drone's navigation systems. As the devices activated, the swarming drones began to veer off course, their formations breaking apart. The Outpost's ground troops seized the opportunity, launching a barrage of guided missiles into the disoriented mass of enemy crafts. Holden oversaw the operation, directing his forces with precision. Focus fire on the larger clusters. We can't let them regroup, he instructed, his eyes scanning the multiple screens that displayed the battlefield's status. On the ground, Ensign Cole and his squad pushed forward, using the confusion to reclaim territory near the outpost's perimeter. The sound of gunfire and explosions filled the air, but this time it was the humans who were advancing. Amidst the chaos, a small team led by Lieutenant Sharma managed to capture one of the semi-functional Zaltrax crafts. Engineers quickly swarmed the vessel, eager to extract any data or technology that could give them an edge. "Captain, you might want to see this," Sharma called over the radio, her voice tinged with excitement. Holden arrived at the makeshift lab where the captured drone was being examined. The engineers had managed to access its navigation module, which contained detailed maps of the Zaltrax Coalition's controlled territories, a treasure trove of strategic intelligence. "This could change everything," Holden murmured, studying the maps. "We now know where they're coming from, and possibly how to strike back." Encouraged by the turn of events, Holden communicated the new intel to Admiral Garcia. Plans were quickly drawn to exploit the newfound vulnerabilities in the Zaltrax defenses. The human fleet adjusted their assault, targeting critical points that were now revealed by the captured data. As the day wore on, the tide of battle shifted unmistakably in favor of the humans. The Zaltrax drones, once a seemingly unstoppable force, were now retreating, crippled by the combined might and ingenuity of the human response. Holden stood in the command center, watching as the last of the enemy drones were driven off. The adrenaline of the fight began to ebb, replaced by a profound relief. The outpost was safe for now, and humanity had sent a clear message. They were not merely survivors in this vast universe, but formidable defenders of their domain. The Zaltrax had underestimated humanity, and now they paid the price for their miscalculation. The battle was a testament to human resilience, strategy, and the unyielding spirit to protect their own. With the enemy in retreat and vital intelligence in hand, Captain James Holden knew this was their moment to shift from defense to offense. The captured Zaltrax drone had not only provided a map of enemy territories, but also detailed their command structure and key vulnerabilities. The human fleet, now bolstered by the success at Titan, planned their next move. "Admiral Garcia, with this new intel, we have a chance to take the fight to them," Holden said during their strategy meeting. "We've identified the location of their command ship. A precise strike there could cripple their operational capabilities significantly." Admiral Garcia nodded, her expression serious. "I agree, Captain. We'll need to coordinate our fleets for a synchronized assault. It's risky, but it's the best chance we have to end this quickly and decisively." Holden spent the next hours in deep planning sessions with his staff and the Admiral's team. They devised a multi-pronged attack strategy, utilizing both the human space fleet and special ground forces. Holden felt a grim satisfaction as the plan took shape, knowing that each phase was designed to exploit the Zaltrax weaknesses revealed by their own technology. As the human fleet maneuvered into position, stealth was their greatest ally. Specialized cloaking devices, developed back on Earth and rushed to the front lines, allowed the ships to approach the Zaltrax command ship undetected. Holden watched the progress from Titan's command center, his heart pounding with anticipation. The first phase of the attack went off without a hitch. The cloaked human ships closed in, releasing a barrage of electromagnetic pulses to disable the Zaltrax ship's shields. Once the shields flickered and died, a squadron of fighters swept in, firing torpedoes that targeted the ship's propulsion and weapons systems. "Direct hit on the target, sir. Their propulsion is offline," reported Lieutenant Sharma, her voice steady but her eyes shining with excitement. Holden allowed himself a brief smile. "All right, move to Phase 2. Deploy the boarding parties. It's time to take their command ship." Teams of specially trained soldiers teleported onto the Zaltrax ship, engaging in intense close-quarters combat. The Zaltrax, caught off guard and unable to organize a coordinated defense, fell back under the relentless assault. Holden monitored the operation, his expression tense as he awaited updates from the boarding teams. "Captain, we've secured the bridge. "The ship is ours," came the crackling voice of the team leader a few tense minutes later. Holden let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Excellent work. Begin intelligence extraction immediately. Find anything that can give us more leverage." As the captured Zaltrax ship was searched, valuable data about the Zaltrax coalition poured in. It revealed not just military secrets, but also political fissures within their ranks. A faction opposed to their aggressive expansionist policies had been gaining strength. Seeing an opportunity, Holden proposed a bold plan to Admiral Garcia. "If we can support this faction, help them gain power, we might be able to end this conflict without further bloodshed. We turn their internal strife to our advantage." Admiral Garcia considered this, then nodded slowly. "It's a strategic play, Captain. Let's set up communications with this faction. If we play this right, we could not only end the war, but also lay the groundwork for a lasting peace." The battle's tide had turned, with the Zaltrax realizing too late that attacking the human outpost had been a grave mistake. As Holden looked over the reports coming in, he felt a cautious hope. This was not just a victory in battle, but potentially the beginning of a new era in human-alien relations. The Outpost, once a lonely frontier station, had become the focal point in humanity's audacious push for a place among the stars. Following the successful capture of the Zaltrax command ship and the intelligence gathered, Captain James Holden and Admiral Garcia shifted their focus towards exploiting the political fissures within the Zaltrax coalition. The data revealed a significant faction within the Zaltrax ranks, known as the Reformists, who opposed the aggressive expansionist policies that had led to the conflict with humanity. Holden initiated contact with the Reformists through secure channels. The negotiations were delicate, each side wary of potential traps, but the urgency of their shared predicament forged a path to tentative trust. "We have common goals," Holden explained to the Reformist leader via a holoconference. "Your desire for peace aligns with ours. Together we can reshape the power structure of your coalition." The Reformist leader, a sharp-featured Zaltrax named Silora, responded with cautious optimism. "Captain Holden, your assistance in gaining influence would be invaluable. In return, we can guarantee that the hostilities against your people will cease." With an agreement in place, the human forces began joint operations with the Reformist faction. Holden orchestrated a series of strikes that were designed not only to weaken the hardliner Zaltrax's military capabilities, but also to bolster the position of the Reformists. These missions were risky, involving covert operations and shared intelligence that brought human and Reformist forces closer. Meanwhile, Ensign Cole and Lieutenant Sharma led ground operations on planets that were key to the Zaltrax's supply chains, capturing resources that were essential for the hardliners but now redirected to support the Reformists. Each successful mission enhanced the standing of the Reformists and demonstrated the benefits of their alliance with humanity. As the campaign progressed, Holden found himself increasingly in contact with Silora, discussing strategies and coordinating combined actions. The alliance had started as a matter of convenience, but was growing into a partnership that could stand the test of time. Back at the outpost, the mood had shifted dramatically. What began as a defensive battle for survival had morphed into an active role in shaping the political landscape of an alien civilization. The crew felt a sense of pride and purpose, their morale boosted by each shared victory with their new allies. However, Holden remained vigilant. The success of their alliance had made them targets, and the hardliner Zaltrax factions had intensified their attacks, desperate to reclaim their dwindling power. In response, Admiral Garcia dispatched additional fleets to reinforce the outpost and support their operations, turning Titan's outpost into a strategic command center for the burgeoning human Zaltrax alliance. As the pivotal moment approached, Holden and Silora planned one final joint operation, a daring assault on the Zaltrax's primary military hub. If successful, it would definitively end the hardliners' ability to wage war and cement the Reformists as the new leaders of the Zaltrax coalition. The night before the operation, Holden stood looking out at the stars, reflecting on the unexpected path that had led him here. This was no longer just about survival or defense. They were making history, actively participating in the reshaping of an alien political landscape and paving the way for a future where humans were not just survivors, but key players on the galactic stage. The next day's battle would be crucial, not just for the future of the Zaltrax, but for humanity's place among the stars. The dawn of the decisive day broke over Titan, casting a silvery glow across the outpost. Captain James Holden stood in the command center, reviewing the final details of the operation that would either cement the Alliance's victory or plunge them back into chaos. The plan was audacious, aiming to seize the Zaltrax's primary military hub and decisively shift the balance of power to the reformist faction. Holden communicated with Silora, ensuring their forces were synchronized. "All units are in position," Silora confirmed, her image flickering on the holographic display. "We are ready to move on your command." "Let's end this," Holden responded, his voice resolute. He issued the order, and the combined human and reformist fleets launched their assault. The battle was intense, with Zaltrax hardliner forces fiercely defending their last stronghold. Space around the hub erupted in a chaotic ballet of laser fire and evasive maneuvers. Human warships, equipped with the latest Earth technology, provided cover for Zaltrax reformist fighters weaving through enemy lines. On the ground, Ensign Cole led a contingent of human and reformist troops. They fought their way through entrenched defenses, pushing towards the hub's central command. Explosions rocked the landscape as they advanced, each step forward bought with fierce resolve and teamwork. Holden monitored the progress from Titan, coordinating the assault and providing strategic commands. He was in constant communication with both human and Zaltrax units, adapting tactics in real time based on the flow of battle. The stakes were incredibly high, and the tension in the command center was palpable. The turning point came when a squad of human special forces managed to breach the hub's inner defenses, planting explosives that disabled the power grid. Lights flickered and died, throwing the command center into darkness. This disruption allowed reformist forces to storm the control room, securing the hub. With the primary military hub captured, the hardliner Zaltrax forces quickly began to fall apart, their command structure shattered. Silora broadcasted her victory speech across all Zaltrax channels, calling for peace and the end of hostilities. Her words, filled with hope for a new future, resonated across the battlefield, causing many of the remaining hardliner forces to lay down their arms. Holden watched the celebrations among the troops through the live feeds, feeling a profound sense of relief and accomplishment. The gamble of supporting the reformist faction had paid off, paving the way for a lasting peace with the Zaltrax coalition. As the dust settled, Admiral Garcia contacted Holden. "Captain, congratulations. You've not just won a battle, you've helped forge a peace that could last generations." Holden nodded, aware of the weight of their achievement. "Thank you, Admiral. It's been a hard-fought victory, but worth every effort for the future it promises." The Outpost, once a remote and vulnerable location, had become the linchpin in a historic alliance between humans and a faction of their former enemies. As the reality of peace settled in, Holden realized the battle for Titan might be over, but their work was just beginning. The task of building a shared future with the Zaltrax would require as much courage and determination as the conflict that had brought them to this point. In the aftermath of their decisive victory, the Titan outpost began a transformation from a military bastion to a diplomatic hub. Captain James Holden, now seen as a key architect of peace, was at the forefront of these efforts. As the dust of battle settled, delegations from both human and Zaltrax factions started arriving at the outpost to lay down the framework for a new galactic order. The once utilitarian meeting rooms of the outpost were repurposed into halls of negotiation, where representatives discussed terms of peace, trade agreements, and future cooperation. Holden, together with Silora, worked tirelessly to ensure that the agreements were fair and beneficial for all sides. Their shared experiences in battle had forged a bond of mutual respect and trust, which now served as a strong foundation for their diplomatic efforts. As part of the peace treaty, the Zaltrax coalition formally recognized the sovereignty of human-occupied territories while adopting significant reforms proposed by the reformists. These reforms included greater transparency in governance and an emphasis on civil liberties, marking a new direction for the Zaltrax society. Holden often found himself marveling at the change in circumstances. The outpost, once on the fringe of human space and braced for siege, was now a buzzing center of activity where former foes shared meals and ideas. The establishment of a joint human Zaltrax research facility was one of the first initiatives aimed at fostering collaboration in technology and science. Ensign Cole, who had been instrumental in the ground operations, took charge of the security details for the new diplomatic quarter. His experience and calm demeanor provided reassurance that the peace would be upheld. Under his supervision, a mixed unit of human and Zaltrax guards was formed, symbolizing the new unity. Lieutenant Sharma headed the outpost's communication and surveillance operations, now repurposed to focus more on exploration and less on warfare. Her team worked closely with Zaltrax engineers, integrating their advanced technology with human systems to enhance the safety and capability of their joint ventures in space exploration. As the anniversary of the battle approached, a ceremony was planned to commemorate those who had lost their lives and to celebrate the achievements of peace. Holden was asked to speak at the event. Standing before a crowd that included humans and Zaltrax alike, he reflected on the journey they had undertaken. Today, we remember the cost of war and the value of peace, Holden began, his voice resonant with emotion. We have chosen to turn our weapons into plowshares, our fortresses into forums. Let this place be a testament to what we can accomplish when we choose cooperation over conflict. The crowd listened, moved by his words. When he finished, the applause was heartfelt and unanimous. It was clear that while the road ahead would have its challenges, the commitment to peace and mutual prosperity was strong. In the days that followed, as Holden walked through the corridors of the outpost, now bustling with the vibrancy of a peacetime community, he felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The outpost was no longer just a strategic location. It was a beacon of what humanity and its one-time enemies could achieve together. The Titan outpost had become a symbol of hope and a crossroads for diverse civilizations, each eager to write a new chapter of their shared history in the galaxy.